Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the info session, the first of two info sessions for the Love Your Block idea submissions. My name is Janice Castle. I am the Director of Community Engagement for the City of Hartford. I'm excited today to be joined by our partners in this great adventure from the Hartford Foundation. Ms. Erica Frank is on here with me, and she'll be sharing a few words from the foundation. But I just want to say thank you all for joining us for this information session as we share with you a little bit about the project, what we're hoping to see, how the process will work, what we're doing differently. So before we get started and dive right in, I'm going to turn it over to Erica so she can share a few words with us.
Thanks so much, Janice. My name is Erica Frank. I'm a Community Impact Officer here at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. I want to give a big thank you to my colleague, Michaela, who's helping us with all the logistics today. And then also my colleague, Cynthia Sanchez, who's not here today, but who's been helping manage all kinds of logistics for us as well. So I just briefly wanted to share how excited we are to be deepening our partnership with the city and all of you, really to get more dollars into the hands of groups of residents and nonprofits to make meaningful changes to the visual look and feel of your neighborhoods. I think we all know that those that live and work in neighborhoods are the best able to determine where small investment or a larger investment could make a big difference. So you know those corners, you know those vacant lots where you have to walk past where changes could have a huge impact on your quality of life. And we hope that this process is really empowering for many of you that have ideas. Janice is going to walk us through a little bit more about the process itself and how we're implementing it. But this process is meant, to support you. So if you have a great idea and you don't know how to get started, I think Janice and her team, and certainly us at the Hartford Foundation, are here to be supportive. So I'll just end by saying, thank you to all of you for engaging. I see some on this info session today that have been recipients of past grants. We're excited to hear about your ideas, and we're excited to see them come to life in 2022. So with that, Janice, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Erica. So what is Love Your Block, right? So many of you, I've seen some of our past grant recipients on the line as well. And so Love Your Block is really a partnership. It's about the city, the folks who live here, the groups who organize every day to make a difference in our community, really working together. And we are working to put the funding behind those ideas, behind those initiatives to really make a difference in our community. It's about beautification. It's about improving the quality of life. So this program really is an opportunity to support the ideas of those who live here, who work here, who passionate about our city and want to see it transform and to its full potential. So Love Your Block started with the city was actually invited through Cities of Service, which at the time was a Bloomberg philanthropy organization, to submit for this $25,000 grant over 2 years to do these. It was focused on blighted quality of life issues. And so, we said, sure, why not? We can go for it. We can see what it's all about. We brought it back to the city. And I remember there was a lot of skepticism in the beginning, and they said, well, what can we do? Because the idea was we would give $1,000 to these community groups that came up with an idea to beautify a block in their neighborhood or come up with something fun. And so it started out with folks saying, what could you really do with $1,000? And I said, the question is not, with that spin, but it's like, what could I do with $1,000? And so that first year we saw 5 projects, right? So the idea was we can fund these projects up to $1,000. After that first year, we got an additional 16 projects. So we decided there was money left over from the first year. We'll increase it up to $1,500. We saw those projects come to life and everyone submitted. And so during that time, we knew the grant project was coming to an end, but we also knew that the Hartford Foundation was really passionate about community engagement and seeing residents take ownership of their neighborhoods and really wanted to support that. So we said, hey, our partners and our friends at Hartford Foundation, let us tell you a little bit about Love Your Block and how we can all partner on their bigger initiative. And so from those conversations and through Erica's support and the work that she helped us put in, we really was able to transform Love Your Block from just one program to one initiative underneath our larger Love Hartford initiative, right? And so under that umbrella, we said, why don't we up it, right? We see what residents are doing. We see how creative they're being with $1,500. What if we gave them $2,500, right? What could they do in their community to really make a difference and have impact? And when I tell you, I have been so impressed with the creativity, because you never know what residents are thinking or what groups are thinking about, right? So we had a vacant lot on Broad Street. They pulled in students, they pulled in residents in the neighborhood, and they created this art box lot. It's a tactical urbanism garden, beautification, environmental safety. You have residents in the neighborhood who each own a block where they plant fruits and vegetables for the summertime, right? We had Asylum Avenue that went to a property owner and said, you know what? Every day I drive by this side of your building and it's not so pretty. And they had a new owner who just moved into the neighborhood and say, you know what? Use the money you have. You can do what you want on the side of the building, and I'll even throw in a little bit more. And so not only did they do the mural on the side of the wall, he also painted the sidewalks. They painted the pull down gates. They planted flowers all along the perimeter of this small shopping center in Asylum. So it just goes to show that the imagination is the only thing holding you back. You can think big, you can think small, but there is so much that you can do. We had not just working with a private property, but a group, said, we see that, that we know that the city owned this little plot, this plot of land, the Marcus Garvey place. We think that we can do more with it than what the city have done in the past. So we say, go for it. They came in, they got volunteers. With the funding, they were able to add seating, they added more flowers, they added breeding plants, they teamed up with Knox, they teamed up with our city forester to figure out what can grow in the area, what would maintain. I do have to tell you, I was a little bit sad because when we got all those flooding last year, that whole area was underwater. And do you know what they said? Oh, we'll plant it back. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And they went back out. We helped them. We brought in mulch from the city and they recreated everything that they were able to do the first time. We have the Zion Hill Cemetery, another project where they said, the cemetery is such a beautiful place where people go in and they just take a minute to reflect. This building is just unsightly, and they were able to transform that building inside and out. We had the Hartford Heroes mural at 463 Park Street. Again, we have residents who are thinking creatively about what they want to see in their neighborhood, what they want to inspire in their neighborhood. And this is how they start the idea. And we're able, either through our Love Your Block that we were doing or through the Hartford Foundation project that they were doing, able to fund these initiatives. So we got to thinking, we don't need to keep two separate ways that individuals can submit projects, right? Because all of these projects really fall under these categories. Yes, these are broad topics, right? So either people are really trying to clean up their neighborhood, right? They're trying to green it. They're trying to plant flowers. They're trying to plant more trees. They're trying to improve parks, how beautifying, whether it's a mural, public art. We now have that art project that's happening on Albany Avenue. There is so so many ways and so many things and so many ideas that residents have and our community organizations have in terms of improving our community. Why create a system that may limit those ideas? And so this is, we sat down with the foundation and Erica saying, let's just put it all together. Let's just have one succinct process where we begin with the idea. So whether it's a big idea, a small idea, we want to know what your idea is. And what our hope is that whatever it is that you're thinking, you're not limited by thinking, how much will this cost? Do I have all the right partners in place? Do I have the ability to really design out and make this functional? Because we want to help with that. So we want you to think about your idea first. If you don't have all the details, that's all right. We can help on the end flush that out. If you're unsure of the cost, we have individuals who can help us come up with good estimate. When it comes to the team, if it's a smaller project, are you looking for neighborhood individuals to help execute the project? Or is it a bigger project and do you need to partner up with a nonprofit in the neighborhood or organization that can help with the technical aspect? We can do that too. So all we're really asking for in this initial process is for individuals to submit their ideas. Once we get those ideas, that's when the work falls on us to determine which bucket folks should be applying under. So the idea is that the Hartford Foundation and our office, along with individuals within different departments, will look at the idea and say, is it feasible? Do we need to connect this project and make it bigger with partners, professional services? Do we need permits? Is it a public space, a private space? Does it align with what the neighborhoods want and are talking about with city plans, right? Can this idea be completed in this summer? Will it take 2 summers? And so once we have an idea and take a closer look at those ideas, then we will invite those idea submitters to submit for 1 of 2 grants. So if the project is smaller, led by residents, and can be completed this summer, it falls within the $25,000 funding limit, they will be invited to apply for the Love Your Block resident grants. If it's a bigger project and need more funding and definitely needs a community partner to execute, that's when it'll be invited to apply for the larger up to $25,000 in funding. And so for that portion, I'll ask Erica to jump in and tell a little bit more about the type of things that the foundation is looking to fund within this bucket. Because again, we know that sometimes this idea may need a little bit more work. It may not be able to be done in 1 summer. So I'll have Erica elaborate a little bit more on that.
Sure. Thank you, Janice. And there's absolutely no way I can match Janice's energy and passion for this work, but I will do my best. As Janice said, there's one portal, but there are some projects where, if you're a resident group and you all have other things going on, you might have a day job or something that keeps you from spending as much time as you would like. So for some of these bigger projects where you may be contracting for professional services, you may need to hire an artist to help plan and implement a mural. You may need to be doing design planning to think through use of a space. You may want to be working with the city on traffic calming. There may be some projects where, because of a combination of cost and complexity, you really want a nonprofit partner to be engaged with you. And certainly there's a lot of nonprofit partners here on this call today, but there's many more that we're engaged with. So if you submit your idea, and you can note in your idea submission, like, yes, we think we probably need someone to help us, based on the nonprofits that exist in that neighborhood or have done similar projects. We can help create that partnership to see if we can get you sort of to the finish line. And, just like Janice said, there may be projects that also need a year of planning before they're ready for implementation. So if you come up with an idea and as we start connecting you with folks, you realize, gosh, we really need to do some more resident engagement around this, or we need to do some design planning, that is also an eligible activity under this fund and could come under either of these grants, but probably more likely that community grant. And so we could, this summer be looking at some of that planning, and then maybe, the hope would be that by next summer, when we relaunch, you might be ready for an implementation grant. The last thing I just want to share too is that another hopefully added benefit of our work this year is that we're also open to maintenance of past projects, which we heard is definitely something folks are really concerned about. How we do all this work and then what happens next. So if that's something that your resident group or nonprofit partner can help with, we're also open to those requests.
Thank you, Erica. And we may be having this info session today. We may be having another one next week, but during the process, you're never alone because we're here to help. So my team and I are here to answer any questions that you may have along the process. If you have, we understand that sometimes folks may be wary about submitting the ideas. We don't want you to, because we just want you to get those ideas in and we'll figure it out on the back end. But even after we get through that point, I wanted you to know that our team, the foundation, will be here lockstep with you as you submit the application, because we want you to be successful and we want to support these projects. As Erica mentioned, whether it's a new idea, whether it's expansion of an existing project, maintenance of an existing project, it's all about what we can do to really enhance, beautify, and just, make our community as great as we all know that it could be and already is. So now I'm going to open it up for questions to see what's on your mind. What are you thinking? I know I'm really high strung and I'm really excited about this initiative. So again, happy to get any questions that myself or Erica are able to answer for you today. Valerie?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm involved with school gardens in Hartford. So, and I saw that, is it Lisa Strelacci is on the call? So could more than one school submit grants and be eligible, or would it be limited to just one school? That's the first question.
Every school can submit.
Okay, so there's no limitation that only one school or Hartford Public Schools could get a grant. And then the other question is, for Love Your Block, the idea that I have would involve beautification, but not all on one block. It could be scattered around a neighborhood depending on who wants to do it. Would that be an idea that, would have merit as well?
Yes, it would. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Lauren?
Yes, hi there. Happy to see that there's, other schools that are interested too. Valerie, if there's anything I can do to support you, just let me know. The particular question I have a teacher from Sand that's interested in doing a mural project over there. What are there any requirements or restrictions around stipends for paying, not only the teacher for their time, but we're also looking at involving students in the artwork and paying them for their time as well this summer. So just curious, what the restrictions are around that.
Janice, you want me to take that from the Hartford Foundation side? So, if you're applying certainly for one of the larger grants up to $25,000, we actually see this as a real opportunity to sort of achieve a lot of goals, and employment of artists and residents being one of them. So frankly, I think if you have opportunities to engage youth in summer employment through this, if you have opportunities to pay and engage local artists, we see that as a win. So those are definitely eligible expenses.
Okay, great, thank you.
Dr. Celeste?
Hello, everyone. You spoke about the maintenance of projects. My question is around completion of projects that we had attempted in the last funding cycle, and we weren't funded at that level. Can we double back and complete those projects through these grants?
Yes, absolutely. So these funds can be used to expand on a project, because we know that last year we had limited funded and could not exceed our $2,500. But yes, absolutely, with this grant, you can apply for the full amount that you're looking for to complete the full project, or to extend an existing project. So that would qualify.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, thoughts, feedback? Everyone on here have great ideas that they're going to submit, definitely.
Hi, this is Carrie. I'm sorry, I'm working off my phone, so I can't really see anything. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So, typically, these funds have been used to improve spaces owned by nonprofits or by the city. We've been kicking around an idea that may involve improvements to property that's privately owned. I know that the Art Box is privately owned, although it's used by the public. Is there any prohibition on using the funds to make improvements to, say, the exterior of a privately owned building?
So what we have done in the past, and I'll also let Erica jump in after this, but what we have done in the past is, if there is a private space that will be transformed to be used by the public, and if the property owner is signing off and agreeing that this space will now provide access from the public, we have granted those funds in the past. That's how a few of the projects were able to be executed, because the owner submitted a letter in support and saying that the public will have access to use this space until such time as a bigger development, for example, on a vacant space, occur at that location. And I'll let Erica jump in as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, the reason you've seen a lot of projects at nonprofit and city locations is just because that's the easy, can often be the easiest place to get access, but it's not necessarily, the only places where we want to see beautification efforts, and where we need to address blight and litter and other things that you as residents want to address. So to Janice's point, private property, you need to have a rationale, right? So how is this going to impact the community as a whole? We also do have conflict of interest policies. So for example, say that somebody employed at a nonprofit owns one of the properties, they could not financially benefit from the beautification of their own private property that they're applying for. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. But we did fund last year, we funded Habitat for Humanity and Rebuilding Together Hartford, addressing a lot of, the needs of the homeowners that they work with that haven't been able to maintain the external facade of their property. So, a porch that may be, falling down, or external painting, or planting some flowers. So, we're certainly open to that, as long as you kind of have a rationale for why the location and why those properties.
Great. And then just a second question. Our Frog Hollow NRZ has been talking quite a bit about vacant and blighted properties. And we are recently talking about, doing a survey of the properties in our neighborhood and essentially trying to come up with a list of all the vacant properties in our neighborhood as a sort of first step in addressing the vacant properties, because they're really have a huge blighting effect on the neighborhood. Would something like that doesn't have an immediate, tangible, or visible result be eligible, or would you like something, or do you lean more towards projects that, at the end of the funding period, you can sort of have the before and after pictures?
Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, I think if neighborhoods are talking about sort of structural ways to address blight and vacant properties, we could definitely, we want to encourage that conversation, to have that conversation. I would just wonder if the resources that we're offering here may not be, frankly, enough to look at structural issues. So so these really are meant to address those things where, hey, we know with a little bit of with some resources and some volunteers and a nonprofit, we can make something happen, whether it's in a year or 2 years, or, certainly we're open to this planning. But if you're having conversations around larger ways to address blight and vacant properties and in your neighborhood, I think maybe we have those conversations in a separate way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was going to say as well that I know that our blight team has a survey that they've completed for the neighborhood, and we've had students who have gone around and done surveying, especially using the youth service score. So we may have resources that can help you with that project, so that you can actually use these funding for something else.
Right, that's great. Thank you. And I mean, really, we should just be able to, call the post office and ask them for a list of all the properties that are no longer receiving mail, and it would be that quick to figure it out. But we haven't had any success with that yet.
Yeah, so I can connect you with the blight team and we can go from there, Carrie.
That would be great. Thanks so much.
No problem. Other thoughts? Kyle?
Hi, thank you. Yeah, so question. So I'm with the West End Civic Association, and I guess my question is, if we're a partner organization for residents, would it be more appropriate for us to bundle a group of resident separate ideas together, or to be their partner individually if that were appropriate?
I guess, we're open to having a conversation of what makes sense for you, and talking about the specific projects. I think our whole goal through this process is to make things easier for you. So, maybe that's a conversation we could have offline about the specific projects you're seeing. And, if it makes sense, if there's themes and you want to submit one idea that could make sense, but maybe that we have that conversation offline.
Sure, thank you.
Other questions, thoughts? And as I mentioned, this is not the only opportunity. If something comes to mind after the info session, as you're getting ready to submit your idea, please do not do not hesitate to contact us. If we cannot answer the question in my office, we can certainly share it over with Erica, and she can get you the answers, because we just want to make it as simple as possible for you to submit ideas, so that we can just the more ideas, the more projects we're able to do, I think is just phenomenal.
The last thing I did want to say before we adjourn too is that Janice has been really helpful in working with NRZs and other resident groups to think through how we engage residents in making the decisions about both of these grant pools as well. So, the unfortunate reality is that there probably will be more ideas than we're able to fund. I mean, we hope we can fund as many of them as possible. But just wanted to share that we'll be engaging residents from neighborhoods to make the decisions.
Fantastic. So before we head out, just a quick reminder of some of the things we covered today. Just again, the link to submit your ideas. We're hoping to get those ideas in by March 7th. Again, do not worry about the ideas having to have all the nails and bolts and all the pieces. This could be for new ideas to maintain current existing projects. It could be to expand an existing projects that you have, to build on it. It could be for design, again. So if you have those ideas and you've always said, it'd be really great to see this in my neighborhood, or we can really use that, again, please do not hesitate to submit those ideas so that we can provide that support, provide that feedback, partner you up with organizations or different community organizations if that will help, because our goal is to take your ideas and help you bring it to reality and to do what we can on our end to help it be successful. So if there are no further questions, I really want to thank everybody for joining us today and spending some of your lunchtime with us. And again, I look forward to seeing all of your ideas and working with you guys, hopefully towards implementation. Thank you.